Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, has described the illegal dissolution and taking over of local government administration by state governors as a treasonable offense. And tonight, with the state of food inflation in the country and the prices of food items, we'll be speaking with the Minister of State for Agric and Food Security. Are we at a risk of food scarcity in Nigeria? Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sowunmi here in Abuja. Let me begin with what has become somewhat a reminder, and if you look at it on the flip side, it looks like a warning about the state of the local government administration in Nigeria and the need for the autonomy. So the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, has described the illegal dissolution and taking over of local government administration by some state governors as a treasonable offense. Mr. Fagbemi stated this earlier today during the opening ceremony of an event organized by the Nigerian Bar Association in Abuja. But today he was represented by the Director of Civil Appeals and the Ministry of Justice, Mr. Tijani Ghazali. The AJF notes that despite the judgment of the Supreme Court and the provision of the Constitution guarding against the interference of state governors in the running of local government councils, some governors and their state assemblies continue to dissolve elected local government council without following the Constitution or the provisions of the Constitution. Take a listen to Mr. Ghazali.
Imperative to state that despite the judgment of the Supreme Court outlawing the illegal removal of democratically elected local government councils by state governors, it is quite unfortunate that few states have continued to blatantly carry on with this illegality. Let me state in unequivocal terms that this act is tantamount to treason and must be treated as such. There is a worrisome trend in the legal profession these days, where lawyers, including the state attorneys general, allow their clients and political leaders to dictate the law to them when it should be the other way around. This is quite unbecoming of gentlemen of the bar, and it must be addressed and reversed immediately. We must all remember that we owe a duty to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria before our political allegiances. Every state in Nigeria has an attorney general. Therefore, the failure of states to the local government structures in their states, in my opinion, can be attributed to the complete dereliction of duty by the attorneys general to the rule of law they swore to uphold.
Tonight, we will be delving into some of the issues pertaining to food scarcity in Nigeria and food security. There are a lot of measures that the president has promised that he will take to ensure that Nigerians not only get food and some major food items by setting up a lot of strategies and ensuring that we have good harvests so that farmers can be able to produce locally and that we will reduce the dependence on importation of food. First, we need to be able to provide the basic food that we eat as a nation. That is what the president says is one of his major agenda when he got into office. But has that been done? You look at the prices of commodities, prices of food, basic food items, from tomato to rice to gari and maize and whatever you're mentioning. You look at the prices astronomically gone up compared to what you saw before President Bola Tinubu got into office. But where are we headed as a people tonight? I'll be speaking with the Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Senator Shabi Abdullahi, who is live for us here in our Abuja studio. It's a pleasure having you join us on the program.
Thank you very much, Segun, for having me.
Thank you so much indeed.
And let me say Happy New Year.
Yes, I mean, if you see, even if it's in June of this year, it still could be Happy New Year. Yeah. But thank you so much indeed. Let's get straight to it. It's concerning, though, and I'm sure that you are as well worried. As a former senator, you are closer to the people, and you can feel the pain of the people when what they used to buy before President Bola Tinubu got into office, now the prices have gone astronomical high. And in the years that we cannot remember, this is the first time we're seeing prices of food or food inflation gotten to this point. It is alarming, isn't it? And it's worrisome. And is the president bothered that the average Nigerian citizen may not even be able to afford to buy food for themselves?
Well, thank you, Segun. And I think what you have just said requires that we put certain context if we are to properly understand the subject of our discussion. First, are we saying that change is not inevitable? In life, change is inevitable, is the constant. And you see, for you to say things were this way before the coming of a president, to me, is uncharitable. Because we knew this country when you were buying Volkswagen at a particular price, car at a particular price. And those prices today cannot even buy the wheel of a bicycle. So I think we should not use this kind of analogy to situate our case. But maybe let me react to the headline I saw you talking about, risk of food scarcity. Nigeria is not in risk of food scarcity. It has not been and will never be, by the grace of God.
So what
I want to say here is that when you say scarcity, it means it's not even available. Nigeria has not suffered from that. But what has happened is that there are dynamics. The economics around food goes beyond just the immediate sector. There are macroeconomic issues. And I think Mr. President fully understands this. And that also speaks volume to why, upon assumption of office, as early as July, he resumed office in May. But by July, he has already declared a state of emergency on food security. And by the time the 8-point agenda was reeled out, food security was in the front burner. So I think saying that maybe is Mr. President concerned? Yes, Mr. President is deeply concerned. And he has shown his concern in terms of the measures he has put in place, both within the sector and also within what I will call the entire economy, which I will talk to in each of these, bifurcation I've mentioned.
So, thank you so much, Minister, for trying to clarify some of the worries. If it's not concerning for if any leader is not worried about...
I never said he's not concerned.
Yeah, no, I'm driving to right? I'm saying if any leader is not worried about whether or not a citizen can feed themselves, that means the leader is not responsible. But now that you have told us that the president is worried, is concerned, and you that you are in charge of some of these duties are also looking into ensuring that the disaster that was looming is averted. Let's get into it. And we'll get in somewhere. You remember in this country that there was flooding that destroyed farmlands in Kogi, Benue, and in Nasarawa, and we saw what that did to us. In this country, we know how much of Indonesian rice that we were importing. At some point, when a government in this country said no more, we need to reduce and cut that, most of the rice getting their way in and out of the country, and we do know what some of these illegal, our borders, our porous border, what it cost us in terms of food security in Nigeria. There are those who will say we have the capacity to be able to produce the kind of food that we eat. But the big question is, are we organized enough, considering the public sector effort and the private sector effort, to be able to organize ourselves and galvanize the nation in producing what it can feed on? And I remind you, Minister, because facts are sacred.
Yeah.
A bag of rice before this government got into office about 95,000 naira. That's February in 20, I mean, let me not even go back as 2023. Let me go into 2024. 95,000 of February 2024. You know what a bag of rice costs right now. A loaf of bread in February of 2024 is about 1,500. A tuber of yam in February 2024. No, you know because you are the Minister of Food in charge of that. Tuber of yam 7,500. A crate of egg February 4,500 naira in February 2024. One bag of pepper, February 2024, 85,000 naira. One bag of beans, February 2024, 80,000. And if you look at all of these prices, food inflation is perhaps one of the most worrisome trend in all of the types of inflation that we have in this country. So one, we can be able to say that things were not the way they used to be. Things skyrocketed based on the decision of this government. First and foremost was how to stem the tide of the rising price. So what have you done, Minister, to ensure that you tame food inflation?
Well, you painted a picture. And before I tell you what we have done, I think I have to go back to that picture.
Okay.
Where you said decisions by this administration. You see, the president made a situation that requires that he should be bold as a leader, he should be courageous as a leader, he should be passionate, patriotic, and also compassionate. And when I say compassionate, I will make an analogy for you. I'm a veterinarian. And whenever you want to do what they call surgery, it means you want to heal that animal. If it's a human being, the medical doctor wants to heal. But will he spare the knife? No. He has to put in the knife, get to the problem, and resolve it. All of us were witness to the campaign trail, and you played a very prominent role in bringing all the gladiators. All of them said, including the civil society, NGOs, people who are speaking, that one canker one in Nigeria was fuel subsidy. And everybody promised he was going to remove fuel subsidy. And by the time the president came on board, it was quite obvious that fuel subsidy has to give way. And of course, from that period to now, it has reset our mindset as a nation. And of course, the rehabilitation of the refineries and all those other decisions are now receiving full throttle attention. So that is a context we need to put in place. And I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt that the pains that this thing has engendered is not unknown to Mr. President. He's fully aware, he is concerned, and that is why he's working together with the economic team to see that we try to reverse this trend. So within that context, one of the things we need to do is the aspect of food, like you have said. Because Mr. President said his vision is a Nigeria where no one goes to bed hungry. But right now, there are challenges. But if you have a vision, then you are walking your path towards that vision. And that's what we are doing. Now, you recall when we came on board, the 2023-2024 dry season farming. We did what has never been done before. Wheat farming was weak, and Mr. President intervened through the National Agricultural Growth Scheme, Agro Pocket Project, and we were able to cultivate 118,000 hectares of wheat spread across 11 wheat producing states. And by the time you juxtapose this with some of the private sector participation, Flour Mills of Nigeria, some private individuals, we knew the figure was more than that. But based on our programming, it was 120 target, and we were able to do 118, about 700 a day about. Meaning we were able to inject more than 500,000 metric tons of wheat into the economy. That was significant because it never happened before. Now, we continued this in terms of rice production, and right now as we speak, this is February, the current 2024-2025 wheat season is in place. And just yesterday, my brother and colleague, Senator Obaka Kyari, came from Jigawa. He was in Jigawa State in collaboration with the Flour Mills of Nigeria and the Jigawa State government. there was a green day yesterday to show what is being done in the wheat field. That is the kind of interjection or intervention that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has brought onto the table. And you see, when you say wheat, why is wheat significant? All the quick fix food that we take are produced from wheat. So that is significant as far as food security is concerned. Now, are we stopping there? No. We also have the rice, which is one of the dry season, crop also. That is currently in the way. And the program is also currently now making arrangements to start distributing. I think they've started in some places because, the season is a bit different for some different areas. But that is in the works.
Sure.
And so, apart from that, let me say this.
Just for a moment, Mr.
No, just let me land on this because it's very important. Why are we doing this? Because before now, when we do wet season, everybody goes home. The dry season is just for festivities. But now we are saying we are introducing a back-to-back. The 12-month calendar is full of farming activities all year round. That is the way to go, and that is the way this administration is taking it.
Minister, you have the data about, correct me if my data is not as relevant as you have it in the public sector and the ministry, but what is out there is that about 6.7 million metric tons of rice is what Nigeria consumes annually. And rice is perhaps the most popular and most consumed staple food in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Out of the 6.7 million metric tons, it is seen as the fact that Nigeria has a deficit of about 3 million metric tons annually in terms of producing what we eat or what we consume.
For rice?
It's been said for rice, we said to have been to be producing about 57% of that 6.7 million metric tons that we consume as a people. So with that deficit, the question I'd like to ask, Minister, over the last 1 year, how much of rice production specifically has Nigeria been able to produce?
Well, I like to speak the truth. And if I give you a specific figure now, I'll be lying. But I want to make a pledge to you that based on what I know, we have gone very far in meeting our demands in this country. Because the local rice that is being produced is sufficient. Because we are not just producing for rainy season, we are producing during the dry season. And this effort has been stepped up.
Are you saying, so if we are consuming 6.7, that means you are...
well, I don't know where you are quoting this figure from, but I know we have a figure, and on the basis of that figure, as far as rice is concerned,
that we are self-sufficient.
We have gone beyond this particular figure you are talking about.
That we are self-sufficient.
Yes, what has happened is the fact that our taste board has preference for imported one based on the processing. But that is changing in the sense that many people are now at home more with the local, rice that is being produced because we now have grown the number of feed mills, rice mills that are actually processing Nigerian rice.
So I'd like to take you up quickly on that. I'd like to know what government figures are right now, because it's a popular, just like the consumption of oil, and the debate when you were senator, when we talk about the consumption of fuel daily, there's been a lot of disparity. Government will say, absolutely, this is what we consume. There are those who say, no, we never are able to consume that amount of 6.7 million, or in the average about 6 million metric tons of rice is what Nigeria is said to consume. But Minister,
unfortunately, if I had come in with my phone, I would have quickly checked the data.
Okay. Right. It's okay if you can get back to us on those things, because it's going to be important.
But let me make this clarification.
We want to be food sufficient.
Yes, but let me make this clarification. You see, let us not forget, Nigeria has 6 agroecologies. Each of these agroecologies, we have facts that shows clearly that there are preferences in terms of their food choices. But one thing that is certain is that we also know crops or commodities that are across board, from Lagos to Kano to Maiduguri, all across. You see, when you talk about wheat, when you talk about rice, when you talk about maize, when you talk about, cowpea, these crops, for example, and you may add yam and even cassava or cassava products. all of these commodities are significant across the agroecologies in different categories. So what we have done is, in terms of our priority, we have prioritized all of these, our food security crops, as what we are focusing on. The next AP is clearly on that track. Our programming in the ministry are clearly on that track.
Let me quickly jump in. Part of the immediate measure that the president came when he announced that it declared a state of emergency on food production in Nigeria, and it says that immediately there's going to be a lift tariff on imported food, food items in Nigeria, and I have a feeling that that policy is still in place, isn't it? That tariff is still taking off some food items. Is that right?
Yes.
So the question is that we still have a lot of food items, and the president also muted the fact that we are going to be importing some food. How much of that have we imported?
Well, I think let's not forget the seasonality in production means that you have period where there is abundance and prices will come down, and as the supply begins to thin out, prices may begin to move. But what we are trying to do is that sharp rise that we witness, occasioned by the flood you talked about, occasioned by the Russia-Ukraine war, which caught everybody off guard in terms of, oh, this is where we're getting our supplies and everybody has relaxed. All of those issues were contributing factor to that spike that was witnessed. But nations, including Nigeria, have adjusted. And Nigeria has adjusted to the fact that we need to do back-to-back production of our major commodities, and that is happening. We need to increase the productivity of our farmers by bringing in mechanization. And we have 4 mechanization programs that are in the works. Delivery of some of these equipments have started. We are partnering in terms of all of this with the subnationals. And you know, states like Niger, states like Kebbi, states like Kaduna. I just came back from Kaduna on Saturday, where the governor flagged off the dry season farming. That never happened before. States like Jigawa, I told you the minister came back from Jigawa yesterday to witness the Green Day. States like Kebbi has distributed thousands of solar-powered irrigation pumps, just like Kaduna did on Saturday. And Jigawa already is using all of those. What are we doing? We are trying to ramp up production in our core production site, so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to increase the level of productivity of our commodities. So the question I was asking, Minister, and I don't want us to lose track of it, the importation the President talked about of some grains. Yes. How much of that did we get? Okay, let me say this. That was made as a stopgap policy intervention, that in case, if we are going to see a leaning, so that we don't end up with another spike, we are going to allow importation. But those importation had certain provisions. It must be people who are already into that commodity.
So federal government did not import.
Federal
specifically.
It did not import.
But it allowed the importation.
Yes, for some people.
Is that policy window still open of lifting of tariff of some food items?
Well, the lifting of tariff was to allow certain food items that we are not producing to be able to be affordable to our citizens. But the one you were talking about, that an importation window was allowed, was for the major commodities. And I think that was last year, if you remember. And it was a window. And yet, we got to December with some element of stability. And with the harvest coming out, prices begin to...
So let me ask specifically, Minister, with the experience that we have, we do know that there was some crisis in some of our silos, right? Last year, when we got there and some people went into those silos and were looting them. And these are supposed to be for emergency purposes.
No. None of our silos was...
Did NEMA report that to you?
None of our silos was looted.
In the north, there were...
I want you to know one thing.
Okay.
State governors also had things they have kept. All our silos were safe. And it was from those silos that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu directed that we release some, grains to states. And that was done, which was handled by NEMA. But those ones that happened during the crisis, they were not our silos.
So let's ask, how many silos do we have?
We have like about 33 silos. Some has been concession, some are uncompleted, but overall, the ones that are within the ambit of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security are about 11.
How much of food storage do you think we have in this country that can give that guarantee that Nigeria has?
I need you to know, when it comes to that, it's a national security matter. You don't just come out and tell the public this is what you have in your storage. So
would you say that, and I understand, because food production, just like the military, is like securing, like energy, is the strength and the energy of your government and the nation. But the big question that I like Nigerians to know tonight is whether or not we have what it takes shored up in our storages, food that can sustain this country.
All right, let's look at it this way. Don't focus your mind on the strategic reserve if you want to answer that question. I want you to know that when farmers produce, they have their stock where they take out of it to sell as at when they need resources to take care of one or two problems. That is also there, which you call on-farm storage or family level or farm state level storage. State governments are supposed to have buffer stock. And I want to guarantee you that a number of states have taken the buffer stock strategy and have stocked in food as their buffer. Then you have the strategic food reserve, which is what is done at the federal level. The whole idea is that you must have a strategy around which you want to guarantee that when the lean period is coming in, you do some strategic release to keep the supply in such a manner that the prices does not crash beyond the level in which the farmer will be discouraged to go back to farm, or it will be so high that citizens will not be able to afford. That balancing act is what is being done. And I want to tell you for the first time that I have it on good authority, a number of state governments have also gone into that. But you see, like I continue to say, there is security implication on some of these things. You just talked about looting. And this looting could just be by eggs. So when you spill these things out, you are giving room for some people to want to sabotage national effort.
So the question here is that Nigeria is food sufficient as of today.
Well, you don't say Nigeria is food sufficient, but Nigeria is not in food crisis.
But we're not food sufficient.
We may not, in terms of your own definition.
No. I'm talking about reality.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, what I know is
as a government,
I can say that if you go to any market, whatever food you want is available.
So in that sense, would you say as a minister that we are food sufficient?
To that extent, we are sufficient, because reason, both what we produce and what is brought in as imports is what is available for us.
So how do you then deal, because the question will be whether or not the emergency declaration on food in Nigeria by the president, whether it's working or not, and the food inflation matter is still of major concern. How are you dropping the price or ensuring that price, I mean, I don't know whether price control will help the situation, but the prices are killing.
Well, as it is now, you know, if you look at it, you need to be fair to this government that the price we had some months back are not the price we are having today. Just yesterday, Punch newspaper did some spotting using Kano. And Kano is more or less like the heartbeat of the food supply chain. Anything you see from Kano reverberates across the other, production site, or is it supply site? And they reported yesterday that prices have dropped. Now, those prices, have they dropped to the level that we want? No. If it's our wish, we want it to go down further. And that is what we are working on, to make sure that the prices continue to go down to a level that Nigerians can afford. Now, one thing we should not forget is this. For you to have your own internal production supplemented by import is what gives you your food self-sufficiency. And I think within that context, Nigeria is stable. Now, when you are not able to have imports, you are not able to produce enough to match, then there will be supply gap. And if that supply gap persists, then you will be in a very precarious situation.
Minister, you're trying to be a politician. You're trying to be tonight. Because the question I'm trying to ask you is whether Nigerians can go to bed believing, thinking, and having the fact that Nigeria does not have a food problem. The president declared it that we have a food problem. Let me tell you one thing. Yes, a food production problem.
Listen, you're not getting the point.
Yes, that's why I say you're trying to dance around the answer, Minister. You're trying to be a politician, right?
No.
The question is that
you don't do politics with food.
Prices of food are high. Whether we we find the food in the market is another ballgame entirely. But the prices don't reflect it.
Let's get it clear. We don't play politics with food. We are speaking reality here. Are we saying that the prices of our commodity is not dropping?
Are they dropping?
It has dropped.
Give me 2 examples, Minister.
Yesterday, there was a report. And like I said, you know, we are on national television. If I want to quote, I should quote straight. Facts that have been there. But yesterday, it was the Punch headline. And it was there out, based on what they did in Kano. If you want, if you have a break interlude, I can get my phone and read out those prices for you. But what I'm saying to you here is this. Because we are working around the clock to see that we stabilize the situation. We don't want to go back to that precarious situation where we are coming from. But you have to appreciate that we are coming from where it is bad. And we have moved away from that bad situation into a stable situation. We want to improve it to an excellent situation because the president said he wants a Nigeria where no one goes to bed hungry. That Nigeria will be a Nigeria where food is available, is accessible, and is affordable.
Minister, on the final note, so we wrap up quickly. Under this Tinubu government, and in you and Senator Kiari, interestingly, the only ministry that has 2 senators in that office, which food item can this government boast that it can be signaled or tagged as? And I give an example. If you hear Ivory Coast, you might almost want to think about cocoa. If you hear Russia, another country as that, you might want to think about a food item. What food item would you say Nigeria would be known to have to be a producer of?
That's number one. We are number 1 cassava producers. Nigeria remains the global number 1 producer of cassava.
As a subsistence farmer.
And I want to tell you one thing.
In the subsistence way.
Whichever way, because there are a lot of big players in the cassava value chain. Big farms using machineries, using
processing of cassava can give you ethanol.
Yes.
But how much of ethanol
do
we give to the rest of the world?
That's what I want to answer. Until now, when we came on board, we realized that we had root and tuber expansion program. And that program took us into this level of expansion where we are the world number 1. But we now checked, are we there in the market globally? We realized we are not. So right now we have designed a program called Root and Tuber Industry and Export Development Program under the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we are working very hard on that so that we will be able to tap into the global market based on the high level of cassava that is being produced. Some of our cassava farmers are losing because market is the key driver of production.
So Nigeria under Bola Tinubu should be known for cassava production.
It's not a bad idea, and I think Nigerians should take it on because we have the highest volume of cassava production in the world, and we should be able to process it into the various products so that we'll be able to tap in while also meeting the local, demand of our gari.
Which is also very important, especially when you put some sugar, and, milk. Except that light is not very stable these days, so you could have very cold ice block water in it with some in your area. You're a big man. It depends on where you live.
You are living in
you put coconut or you put granite or whatever you may have. Gari is very interesting. Some of us had gari growing up without sugar. We couldn't afford.
So maybe let me make this party short, please. Let me say this: that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President and Commander-in-Chief, is deeply concerned and is working to ensure that we reverse not just the current food inflation, but to transform the food system into a stable one where every Nigeria can eat the kind of food he has. Our agroecology is diverse. Our commodity that we can produce for food is diverse. The 6 geopolitical zones, different food choices are there, and the Nigerian food is one in which we also want to anchor on a very solid
like they say in the local parlance, show workings. We want to see the food.
Yes.
We want to see the price come.
Yes.
But thank you so much, Minister.
And I will invite you to see what we're doing as we're unveiling some of these things, especially this year.
I appreciate it. Senator Shabi Abdullah is the Honorable Minister for State for Agriculture. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it. And I wish you guys the very best of luck.
Thank you
very much. We are going into the new year. We should see more harvest. And the Tinubu government should show workings in terms of the harvest. Let's get our hands dirty.
We will start harvest in April. Join us.
Thank you so much. We'll take a break, everyone. But when we come back, Segun Sowunmi will be joining us. There is also some disaster in their party. The PDP is always and seeing a lot of commotion, whether or not they are able to doubt attention, or also the state of the nation gets our attention. When Segun Sowunmi joins us next, we'll be right back, everyone. Now, Chief Segun Sowunmi is live with us. The situation in the People's Democratic Party and some of the issues around the nation get our attention tonight with him. Thank you so much indeed, as always, for coming on the program. First and foremost, we understand that Chief Adolphus Wabara has been sacked by the local arm of the party. There was a Supreme Court, there was a court position today to say, look, I will not give an order of court, which is supposed to be an ex parte order for Sam Anyanwu. I will allow the other parties to come and defend themselves and hear both parties. That's the position of court today. In what has become a major concern for anyone who is following the PDP matter. For you, I mean, you have spoken up loudly about the situation in the PDP. What kind of state does it leave you?
Sure. I think that we must look at the issues that are most important in the life of the nation beyond us being asked to be speaking about issues that are purely in court. As things stand today, 3 big issues are before us. Issue number 1, the criminal activities that suggest that there is a grand design to forcefully create a state of Armageddon in one of our PDP states called Osun. Yes, the case, you get a little bit worried for this country, and it drives you back to why the First Republic failed. You know the kinds of dangerous politics that created the wedge here until the whole thing collapsed. That's the kind of thing you are seeing in Osun. For starters, that particular state has been quite happy, very peaceful, well administered, delivering on the type of programs and policies that excite the majority. They have a case that APP took to court to challenge the status quo and the issues that border on why they should even go ahead to do those local government elections in the first place. And that they were going ahead in spite of the fact that it was in great contradiction to the Electoral Act and the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That case is a settled matter that tells those local government that they can't continue. The appeal court case that they are going on to, the major thing that could have given them even the effrontery or the excuse to run into the state that are acting like lunatics until we have people that are dead now, did not even speak to even remotely touch the issues that could have given them any right or any reason to act that way. And it becomes more unacceptable because some of the signs that a society is about to fail, especially in a democracy, is that the ruling party, the APC party of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, notwithstanding the excessive privileges that comes with being the party in government, they believe in their mind that nobody can control them, nobody can stop them, nobody can plead with them, nobody can reason with them, and all they desire to do is make life difficult in opposition spaces. And I would like to beg, if the machination and the thinkings and the rumors that we are hearing that 2027 is what is behind there, is before them, let us take it one step after the other. We will not accept a situation in this country where, with all of the things that even you are trying to talk about with the PDP and the Labour and all that, how is it that suddenly, under the Machiavellian style of leadership that they are running, all opposition parties can never be saved except them? All opposition government spaces can never be saved except theirs. Why would we now accept a situation that, oh, they are going to force rape us in a democracy? If you want to beat PDP in Osun, go to the field and campaign. Do not attempt to scare our people, to bully our governor. I have read a piece today where operatives of that government signed under his spokesperson. He's even saying that his life is under threat. Shall it be that the only thing that is acceptable in this country is that all sides must be acting like lunatics so that we can lead our people? Segun, that's a more important issue, number one. Number two,
but before we get into the number
I want to give you the important issues that we want to...
Just for a moment, let's stay on the Osun matter for a moment. And this appeared to me to be more a political matter than a matter of security, as you are making Nigerians to want to believe. If an APC and PDP in the state are fighting or quarreling or bickering about a position of court, isn't it something that needs to be handled by the person who governs the state?
So I wish it was that simple. What we see from operatives that are around the area and our people is that the first telltale sign that trouble was coming was the governor was screaming out that, look, things are not looking normal. Please call Oyetola to order. And the next thing we see is brigandage, and they can investigate and find out who's done what. But Segun, does it not beat you hollow that a democracy that we all fought for, including a democracy at this material time where we've just lost two major conscience of rights in this country, and to their memory I pay obeisance, Ayo, Baba Yadebanjo, and just a couple of days, yesterday I think, we lost Edwin Clark. Anybody who is leading our country must understand that managing the nation requires tender hands. And in doing that, security, which is exclusively in the hands of the federal government, the deployment of his IG, the police, DSS and all that, should not be allowed to go into opposition spaces and just allow this
Are you inferring that the state apparatus is being used to twist the government of Osun State in the kind of violence that we're seeing?
I think when he raised the alarm, everything humanly possible ought to have been given to him as the chief security officer of that state to prevent this kind of bloodbath.
Should the president have called Minister Oyetola to order, even if Oyetola says, I don't know anything about it?
That's not how to call someone to order. Did they find him at the spot? If they are alleging him, what I would have expected them to do is to get the IG, get the people in charge to tell the governor, Mr. Governor, what type of extra buffer do we need to give you so you can feel safe? The concept of true federalism ab initio queries with the fact that subnational government is jumping over the head of subnationals to go and start interfering in local government affairs. Okay, if we say for convenience and because we want the local government to, work well, are you not even going to allow them to seamlessly transmit into legal local government? Where in the world will a governor happily accept that a or inappropriate, not well done, against the law local government election that was only done when you had lost an election will now be the basis by which when another party, APP, which is not even PDP, has gone to court, PDP has gone to court, and they have been told to vacate? Shall you even not for administrative convenience and the peace of the state, and even to ensure that opposition can breathe and opposition can exist in the country, shall you not even ensure that they don't feel overwhelmed in? Why?
What do you think the president should have done?
I think the president should have told them in clear language, I haven't sent anybody on my behalf playing God about tomorrow that they don't know if it will come or it will not come, and begin to play the strong arm politics that can destabilize any state in Nigeria. Look at what is going on in Lagos. Shall any decent Democrat not be embarrassed that a routine, if you like, stepping out of line of the legislature, which is their right to decide who the leader of their, the speaker of their, or the leaders of their
rank and file
can be. They can choose their speaker, they can impeach him. They don't even need a reason to impeach a speaker. They can just be tired of his damn face. And suddenly, we are now having a situation where in the South Same Lagos, DSS and them are tussling at the door. Everybody is screaming and shouting. What's going on here?
But we understand that the DSS were invited. DSS was said to have been invited by the clerk of the house to come and secure the place.
Did they invite DSS to come and lock their office?
Did the DSS lock their office?
I don't know. I'm just telling you. See, let me tell you the problem with these things. It is the optics. It is the perception. It is the innuendos that eventually, creates the ripple effect that can cause the society to become enough. And let me tell you, there is always one thing you do, and the whole thing will just go bust. We have not escaped Edo. The election and all of the issues were there, because we're trying to manage ourselves. Okay, let us wait until the court speaks. We have not escaped some of the shenanigans in some of that location. Why would you want to take the spring of the headquarters of the Yoruba nation, where even the Oba of the Oni of Ife seat, where Oshun is, where Oshun Osogbo is, where people even say you are related to? Why would you even allow anybody, whether the man is a PDP man or a
you are inferring, and you are making it sound like the nation is on the ledge. You are inferring, and
as far as the opposition is concerned, we're already on the. No, we're not on the ledge. We're actually at the guillotine. We're barely.
Isn't that extreme? What happened? A lot of people will say, disagreement between two political parties, which led into.
Must everything in the country reflect that only the ruling party is right? Must every action in the country suggest that only the ruling party can be supported?
Does it suggest to you that the nation is getting out of hand and out of control?
No, what I think that is going on, I don't like people who say the country will become a one-party, because it can never be a one-party state anyway. What I see is that I'm seeing some immature handling of the delicate fiber of nation. I expect that the longer you stand in democracy, the more peaceful the democratic atmosphere becomes. And whatever it is that's happening in Oshun, it was rumored. Let us leave it in the area of rumor. That some fellows are deceiving themselves, that they're going to go and say they want to start declaring a state of emergency in Oshun. For what and why? Jonathan did not declare a state of emergency when the vice president was governor in Borno. Even with all of the shenanigans of Chibok and all of that, you are now going to say that, okay, a small crisis has taken place and people have died. You are threatening a state to the point that the governor is having to make it a talking point when the British High Commission or the people that went to him today. Do you know how that even makes us feel? Do you know how it makes us look? You are not fixing the economy. Your friend, our friend before he became minister, speaking fancy language, talking what we cannot practically see. You are doing what you call economic voodoo and abracadabra by claiming that by rebasing or changing the year of compensation of the indices, you are going to tell the whole world that, oh, you have brought down inflation by as much as 10%. Are you magicians? And the reality of the life of our people does not even reflect that. And this is a government. This is a party that was in the heartbeat between 2015 and 2019, when they were there, the first set of elections, even up to 2025 or 23 when they did the last election, they never allowed the Nigerian people nor the PDP to rest from 16 years this, 16 years this, 16 years this. And I marvel at how the media will now suddenly allow them to step away from the 8 years of Buhari and be claiming as if, oh, every other person before them was so bad and they are such wonderful magicians and that, okay, they are the only ones that know what is good, and nothing reflects that. Not even the balance of the power of the people that are even in their own party. That party that they run has not been as destabilized and has not had as many disgruntled high-ranking members than when they are in charge. Why? Because of this attitude that, oh, there's a Capo de Tutu somewhere, there's a Machiavellian somewhere, there's a frail man that everybody must be afraid of. How? We will meet at the polls in 2027. And it is the Nigerian people that will determine who will lead them. If they want to make a mistake, it is still their right to make. If they want to, extend your rule, it is still their right to make. You can never reduce a 250 million country, a vibrant population like ours, with democracy, into a place where everybody is going to be afraid of you.
Mr. Segun Sowunmi, tonight you have portrayed, and it's always very interesting to hear the opposition speak, but it does look like you are a lone voice in some of whatever that is ongoing in the country. But the fact remains, you are leading a platform called the Alternative.
Yes.
But the fact remains that whatever that is going on in the country today, under the Bola Tinubu administration, they will tell you that they are doing their best to fix the nation. But you are sounding as though nothing they have done is good at all. And you're sounding as though that the country is slipping off the fingers of the man in charge of this country. Sure. Is that fair assessment of the situation of things?
In fact, I'm too generous to them. I'm too generous. Listen, Segun, do you really understand what it really means for a nation like ours that had been in military dictatorship to come and say we want to be in democracy, including people losing their lives and all of the stories we all participated in? Do you know what it means when that same democracy under a would-be Democrats starts to give the coloration that we have now suddenly become a nation that is running either Russia or China? It would have been acceptable if we chose to run that model, assuming we were running a government of competent people. He has gathered a bunch of incompetent jokers, asked them to be running our economy. They are running it upside down, and all they are seeing to tell us is that we will not even be allowed to gather, ventilate, and everywhere opposition has to have crisis. We have a crisis here, crisis. Every one of those crises, there will be something about somebody that is being funded by them, somebody that is appointed by them, somebody that is helping them. And our beautiful state of Osun, where the governor has tried the hardest he can not to be so unquarrelsome. They had a Rebeshola there sometimes back. Was that how Rafi was running Osun? Was he not even running it as if it was almost a pseudo-militant camp of some ideological bend of some of Moluabi? This guy has just been friendly with everybody. He's been amenable. He's been open, but he also entitled to run the state with the corporation. Shall every state governor have problems with the ruling party's people just because, like, you would not know? Look at what's happening in Edo, their state, where they are in charge. They said they don't want the local government. Can you see anybody trying to fight them or force install the people? Why would they do it in our own area? And you know what? All they have to do is deal with one, and we are quiet. Then they will deal with all of us. And the painful thing about democracy is that without eternal vigilance, democracy can begin to resemble civilian dictatorship. And then it will mean that by the manipulation of the law, by the excess application of executive authority and what have you, we'll have a nation where everybody is now cowed. Enough!
Yeah. Chief Segun Sowunmi, thank you so much. I appreciate your time tonight. Chief Segun Sowunmi is a leader of the Alternative and a member of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Segun.
I appreciate it. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. God bless Nigeria.